You're watching Swipe, and here's what's coming up on this week's programme.
I meet the comedian behind a database to help people with mental health issues. Alex delves deep into parts of the web you probably haven't been to. And our games reviewer sends us his thoughts from one of the world's biggest gaming events.
That's all to come in the next 10 minutes or so, but before then, let's take a quick look at some of the tech stories that made headlines this week.
Elon Musk joined more than 100 tech leaders in warning the United Nations about future killer robots. The Tesla chief and others signed a letter urging the UN to ban the development of autonomous weapons that could be used by despots and terrorists, saying once this Pandora's box is opened, it'll be hard to close. Speaking of intelligent robots, here's one with 56 fingers that can play the piano. Teotronico is among a variety of sophisticated droids at the World Robot Conference in Beijing. The retail giant Walmart is linking up with Google Home to offer voice-activated shopping. It opens up a new front in its battle with Amazon, which currently dominates the voice shopping market via its personal assistant Alexa. Turns out Angela Merkel's a fan of gaming. The German Chancellor opened the annual Gamescom event in Cologne this week, one of the world's largest events for video games. She acknowledged the importance of the industry by saying games were a driving force for innovation. We'll be bringing you more from Gamescom a little bit later in the show. And Formula One is entering the esports arena. The competition begins next month, with gamers around the world battling it out to be the best virtual F1 driver and be crowned the Formula One Esports Series World Champion.
Now, there's a new database. It's called Hub of Hope. It's to help people struggling with mental health issues find support near them. It was set up by a charity called Chase the Stigma, and that was set up by Jake Mills, a comedian from Liverpool.
You can just click Find Nearby Services.
And what kind of services are these?
These are charities, community groups. They're basically not the NHS. It's not to replace doctors or counselling or any other services like that, but it's to work alongside it. It's to say that there is help available. The one that's here, it'll give you the address and the details and the open times, but if you select more, it will show you where it is, information about them and all their contact details.
What's your reason for doing this? What's the personal story behind it?
I suffered with depression for probably over a year, and I didn't know where to turn for help. I didn't know what help was available. I bottled everything inside and I didn't tell anyone, and that kind of led to me eventually attempting to take my own life. And it was only when I came through the other side and I started to talk publicly about that I realised how many other people were going through the same thing that I was. Suddenly people were coming to me, complete strangers from all over the country, asking me for help, people saying I'm struggling, I don't know where to turn, and I didn't know.
How do you think technology in a wider sense is helping to change the stigma around mental health?
Particularly with social media, I personally have seen the two sides of the coin. I've seen the horrible, the troll, the pressure, the social media kind of pretense that people live, but then at the same time I've seen how everyone can come together. So we want to use that side of technology to say, even if you're in the house, in your bedroom, you don't want to ever leave, you can still access help.
You're a comedian. How do you combine this with your comedy work?
I think comedy is such a good tool in that you can talk about things and laugh at things that maybe people are scared of.
People ask me, what's the hardest thing you've ever had to do? Without a doubt, it's selling tickets to a comedy show about depression.
So you joke about mental illness?
I joke about my own because the best type of comedy is things that everybody has, and everybody in the world has mental health. Everyone has mental health. So the best thing that you can do is use what we all go through, the stupid things that we might think, the stupid things we might say.
And what's your ultimate goal now? The aim with the app and website and database?
We want the Hub of Hope to be everywhere. Anyone who offers any form of support or advice can register to be on the Hub of Hope. No one charges to be on it, no one charges to use it. It's just all free, it's just one place to bring all help support together.
Time for something a little bit different now, but stay with us. It involves cake. We often hear stories about the dark web. But how many of us really understand what goes on in those parts of the internet that Google doesn't take us to? Well, this week, Alex has been investigating.
Dark web, deep web, surface web, there are an awful lot of terms thrown around, and they can sound quite complex, but really, it's a piece of cake. Bear with me. You see, like a piece of cake, the internet has layers. There's the surface web. You can think of that like the top layer of icing here. It's accessible through internet search engines. But then underneath that, this big chunky sponge, that's the deep web. It's the majority of the web, the kind of pages like your password-protected email accounts, bank details. But then part of the deep web, like this layer of icing in the sponge, is the dark web. Like the deep web, it's not accessible through search engines, but here there's an additional element. Special tools are used to make sure you don't know who's hosting the sites you're accessing, and they don't know exactly who you are either.
The most commonly visited sites on the darknet are probably these illegal markets, these black markets that buy and sell almost anything. Illegal narcotics, recreational drugs, fake passports, counterfeit money, and increasingly a huge amount of ransomware, the sort of stuff that was used to infect large parts of the NHS a couple of months ago.
In May, a huge ransomware attack swept indiscriminately across the globe. NHS systems were hit hard. Appointments were cancelled as staff were locked out of their computers. So how exactly does this dark web work? Well, it relies on a special browser called Tor. This anonymises users and the hosts of sites so that individuals cannot be traced. Now that in itself is perfectly legal. This technology was actually developed by the US Navy. But dark websites will only grant you access if you use tools like this. And it's on the dark web that we find these illegal marketplaces.
This is one of the websites where things are being sold. You'll notice that there is feedback. So there are stars from customers who are happy, and
Customer reviews.
Customer reviews are available. Pretty much everything that you would find on a legitimate marketplace is reflected here in one of the illegal marketplaces.
And the language used on these sites sounds rather familiar.
What does 100% satisfaction guarantee mean? If you are not happy with your purchase, we will replace the database or refund your order.
So that's the language you'd expect on a normal website selling normal goods. But this is illegal, what they're doing.
Absolutely. This is selling stolen goods. This is selling access to people's lives for criminals to exploit to make more money.
So we've seen a lot of content on here that is illegal, and we know there's upsetting content on here. So is it a case of the dark web bad and the surface web is good?
You will get people who obviously are criminal and are looking to disguise their activities online, but you get ordinary people who are using the Tor browser to give them a sense of security, a sense of anonymity.
And that's the catch with the dark web. The same tool that masks criminals protects people where there isn't a free internet. So on a closer inspection, this shady, dark space has more layers of its own. Alex Morgan, Sky News.
It's time for that part of the show when we tell you what's worth knowing about in gaming right now. And this week we're focusing on news from Gamescom, arguably Europe's biggest gaming event. And our reviewer Rik has been there in Germany.
At any major games convention, the chance to play the latest games before they actually come out is what draws the public. And they're certainly all queuing behind me for Call of Duty World War II. It's one of the better demos I've played here. It's 40 minutes of multiplayer gameplay and war mode, and it has sound effects that shake you out of your boots. But the big thing is that these guys, they are queuing to play it, but you will be able to play it at home if you already pre-ordered the game. So you get to play the demo that all these guys are queuing for. Results. I'm in the business design centre of Gamescom at the moment, which is kind of the calm and the eye of the storm that is the whole convention. And it kind of is a good and ironic flip on Jurassic World Evolution, the game that was actually announced just before the show started. It's by the Planet Coaster and Roller Coaster Tycoon guys, Frontier Developments, and so you can expect to build your own Jurassic Park, much like the movies. But I'm telling you what, this is just a different world. You've got T-Rexes running around, ruining things and eating your guests and park members. It's going to be fantastic. It comes out next year in the summer of 2018. There are a lot of driving games here at Gamescom, Project Cars 2, Gran Turismo Sport, but undoubtedly my favourite is Forza Motorsport 7. It's 4K and HDR on Xbox One X and PC when it comes out. It's got so many modes, and you can even customise your driver this year, which sounds weird, but it really works. It allows you to put anything on your driver, and you can even have like a jumper over your suit and things like that. It's very, very cool. But ultimately, it comes down to the driving experience, and Forza does it best. The biggest hardware announcement this year's Gamescom 2017 involves this little guy. It's the Project Scorpio Xbox One X, the 4K HDR gaming powerhouse of a console that comes out on the 7th of November. This particular one has a gradiated tin and is specifically designed because it is a day one pre-order bonus. There might be some still available, but if not, the Xbox One X also comes out on that day and you can get one of those. There's also the Minecraft Xbox One S, which is really, really well designed, but what I particularly like is the controllers. There's the Creeper one that comes with it, but also the Piggy, which I really love, that you can get separately. Oh, I love the Piggy.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. Join us again for more Swipe next week, and in the meantime, follow us on Twitter @Sky News Swipe. Bye-bye.